as you polish all our signs, cause our locks are always broken. You need that view askew? You know we got you, dude. Showing gratitude and always smiling, never rude. Top 5 movie reviews and what's new. We bring in all the big guns when we coming through. Welcome to the stage. Come on, enjoy the cast. Hurry up, don't come in last. You know we love it, the sacred sex.
Sorry,
did it, folks. That was awesome. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Live from the Secret Stash. I'm one of 3 hosts. My name is Michael Zapcic. This guy to my left, who has a really bad case of the giggles, his name's Christian Cortez. And sitting to my right, this is Jack Welsh. Because I had to do that to you, Christian, because you were getting a little... It was awesome. So... Oh man!
Hi guys. Oh god!
So the reason why he's got this is because Jack had asked us about 15 minutes ago. He had the tenacity, the temerity, I tells you, to ask us what our favorite sitcom was.
And
it's I mean, you're talking
spiraling.
About my god.
Because me and Jack, I mean, I'm a little older than you, buddy, but like we come from a very similar generation of like. I'm sorry, subpar sitcoms. Mike's generation grew up with.
Oh, we had the best.
You guys
sitcoms.
had the best shit.
We did. We had Maude. I mean, we had B. Arthur, and who was sexually active at the time. They're like, holy God.
Golden Girls. Like,
well, I mean, Golden Girls came later.
I know, but like,
and they were sexually active.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh my God. Dick Van Dyke. Fuck you and your question, Jack.
Because we've got some. Yeah, we got some really good ones. There's Andy Griffith's show. I mean, we can go down a huge rabbit hole. That was part of the Rural Purge. Police Squad was fantastic, but I mean, that was like 13. No, was I? Yeah, 13 when that came out, and I knew it was not going to be able to last because.
Brilliant, don't.
Well, not just that, but it was so rapid fire. People who watch TV comedies, situational comedies, you're sitting there going, all right. And you get up, you move around the room, you go and grab something, eat out of the kitchen, and you come back. And most of the crap is still going on. They're still trying to get through all of the, most of the exposition. Yeah. But Police Squad was like boom, 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 boom. It was like joke upon joke upon joke upon joke, and each one.
If you walked away, you missed about 12.
You missed, if you sneezed, you missed 3. It's like that's you. All right, what I miss? You missed a lot, and
we've already broken the 4th wall.
Yes.
We're gone.
So, Jack had. So we were talking about would Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids be a sitcom, and Christian said an animated sitcom, and we were just making jokes,
making
light of
let your imagination run wild.
Making light of some serious some serious things that can land you into prison.
I might have a dumb question though. Would you consider Batman 66 a sitcom?
Absolutely not.
No, that's an action comedy.
Because they were also playing it straight.
Right. Yeah, that's what's really, I love Batman 66, don't get me wrong, but that's also kind of what is hilarious about it, because in retrospect, they're playing it deadly straight.
Right, for sure.
And it is the silliest Batman adaptation. At least until Lego Batman. But sitcoms, now, you know what? I think I do have an answer, finally, and I'm going through the list, and it predates me by a millennia, but I love Hogan's Heroes.
Really? That was 1,000 years before your time? Wow.
Yes.
Hogan's Heroes. So you found Nazis to be funny?
Yes, it did.
Okay, good enough.
I see nothing. I know nothing, Colonel Klink.
Yeah, and the really fucked up part of that was that they had Colonel Klink. He made an appearance on Batman.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And you're and he was like,
which is so strange.
Yeah, it was very
in retrospect.
Because seriously.
But no,
Adam West should have just punched him right in his face, because it's like, What, you punch a Nazi? That's pretty much what you do.
Did not see that coming, Christian. Oh, shut up, Carlo.
Oh, that was very funny,
Hogan's
Carlo.
Heroes is very, very funny show.
It was very, very funny.
I always used to,
and that
find
is
it very funny.
that is the most situational of comedies.
Oh.
When you think about it, it's like a POW camp in Germany. Yes, let's make light of this. And
it was the era when you could. There wasn't active fascism going on at least in society at that time.
You think? I'm pretty sure there was.
Well, probably,
we had an Iron Curtain.
This is true.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it was one of those shows that was always airing reruns on TV Land.
Oh my God, yes.
So I would come home from school, do homework, and then at 3:30, Hogan's Heroes. At 2 episodes back to back.
It took me years. It took me actually almost a decade. If you remember the end credits, they had that image of the hat on the Colonel Hogan's hat on top of the that German helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the I thought it was like something dead on top of something
deader.
Yeah. I'm like, that is the grossest thing I've ever seen. And exactly. I'm
like, why is this on television?
Can we pull that up? I mean, can we pull up that image so people understand? Because that was messed up. And I'm like, why? What the hell is that thing? For the life of me. For the life of 5-6-year-old me, I couldn't. And what is that 5 or 6-year-old doing watching a sitcom about Nazis?
They put it on TV Land below Nickelodeon.
Look at that.
Like, that's
what that is the weirdest thing. Can you share that?
Yes, I am.
That is so weird. Such a weird thing that I'm like, what in the name of God is that?
But like, it is definitely a show of the time, but
it was of its time. We were 20 years out from the atrocities, and hey, let's make fun of these fuckers. And they had 2 people who were actually in concentration camps.
Jesus Christ!
No, seriously, LeBeau was in I think he was in Buchenwald, and the general.
Do you want a less controversial choice then? Because I'm
just telling you. It was really weird.
And then I want to educate Christian on why Hogan's Heroes is actually fucked up.
Then you had the guy who
fucked up, okay?
The guy who'd go on to host Family Fucking Feud. Why not? And how Bob Hogan died, that's a fucking rabbit hole we can fall down.
Oh my God.
Murdered by they think a guy named John Carpenter, no relation, and a hammer.
Yeah, that's
weird.
It's a very odd rabbit hole to dive down.
But speaking of diving, we're gonna do a deep dive here.
Wait a second. Before we do that,
yes,
Jack, you didn't even answer your own question.
Yeah, you didn't answer your own question.
Oh, my all-time. Well, Christian said Andy Griffith, but I mean, honestly, probably MASH.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
My dad used to. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old watching MASH.
That is weird. Talk about you got one about a Nazi concentration, not a Nazi POW camp, and then on the flip side, something happened like 10 years later. Actually, no, it's only like 6 years later. The Korean conflict, not even good enough to be a war. Okay,
you're watching MASH.
Yeah,
dude, MASH is great.
I agree with the first 3 seasons, but after that, they got like really dick.
Yeah,
for sure. When they killed off McLean Stevenson and they brought in and almost literally killed him off. That's when you McLean Stevenson.
Wait a minute, isn't MASH the show where they made fun of it in Family Guy, but they brought a character back like years later, but it was like, it was all a dream.
No, that was Dallas, man.
That was Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas.
Oh, okay.
MASH, Dallas. They both sound kind of alike.
Well, I had always thought that was a MASH reference, but I guess not.
No, it's a Dallas reference. But
funny.
The weird MASH thing is, it was funny at first. And McLean Stevenson, who was arguably one of the reasons why it was so funny in the first 3 seasons, he played Colonel Henry Blake. And I swear to God, we're going to get to our deep dive in a second.
We are. We just had to end it properly.
However, McLean Stevenson wanted so badly out of his contract that he went and he told them, and they're like, "Fine, we'll do it." And they're giving him this nice send off. Is like, Henry, here's a new suit for you. You're out of here. Goodbye. And then they fucking murdered him. They murdered him.
There were no. I've seen that clip.
There were no survivors. Yeah, everybody's like, "Oh my God!" And that was called McLeaning somebody.
That's rude as fuck.
It is. It's like, all right, I'm gonna get it. And then they're like, ha ha, you can never come back. And then he went to do Hello Larry, which was like a show that was critically panned. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is awful." And by the way,
not everybody gets a hit.
Suicide is Painless. I saw somebody said, "What's the name of the MASH theme?" Suicide is Painless. And it has words. And I actually know some of them.
Kyle, he's asking you trivia questions.
The game of life is hard to play. You're going to lose it anyway.
He also wants
the losing card I'll someday lay. So here's what I have to say. Suicide is painless. It brings so many changes, and I can take or leave it if I please. So yes, that's the first stanza.
I think we're supposed to.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to sing. Trust me on that one. So there we go.
And then he wants to know who played Egghead in the 66 Batman TV.
Oh, who played Egghead? That's Vincent Price. Vincent Price. Actually, Kyle, why don't you tell me where Vincent Price is from? What country? Where is he? Where is he from? Huh? What you got there? Do you want to know? Shall I tell you?
Vincent Price? Let him answer, because I love this answer, because I know.
You do know it, yes. Oh, he said he's from England? He's from St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis. Yes, Jody.
I love when people find that out.
They're like,
because he's this legendary British icon.
Like, hello.
He's from the good old US of A.
That's called the Mid-Atlantic...
bullshit.
No, Mid-Atlantic accent, because Jonathan Harris, who was Dr. Smith on... Lost in Space. Mm-hmm. Oh, Will Robinson, the pain. Yes. He's
too good, buddy.
And he called himself, he's just a Jew from Brooklyn.
Oh my God.
He was a Brooklynite, Jonathan Harris, but he went to great lengths to get rid of that accent. So yeah, baby. It's called the Mid-Atlantic accent. It's what many of like the 1930s and 1940s movie stars, they went to special school to train in that.
To be able to speak in it, or to be able to get rid of it?
Yes. No, to have the Mid-Atlantic accent. Yes, hello.
I like everybody's answers to this. Wait, Mike, did you actually give an answer? Because we also were just kind of clowning Jeff.
Oh, I loved Bosom Buddies. I was a huge Bosom Buddies fan. Okay. Bosom Buddies, Tom Hanks, Peter Scolari, Donna Dixon, Wendy Sperber. That was her last name too. I was like, so your last name's Sperber. Well, she was in Bachelor Party.
Okay. Now we know each other's favorite sitcom. I really was not expecting MASH from you.
It's probably going to be Andy Griffith over MASH.
Still.
I mean,
we're still tallying votes.
Like, I don't want to be on this. I don't want to be on this.
I don't want to say Big Bang Theory. I'm going to get friggin' torn to shreds.
I wasn't going to tear you to shreds.
Again.
God damn it. All right.
Yes.
Now we're going to go into what you people have been waiting for. Mike, you got a new segment.
So this is called Deep Dive.
Deep Dive.
The Deep Dive. So our first deep dive here is we're going to do Superman. So many people know Action Comics #1 is the very first appearance of Clark Kent, Superman, Kal-El.
Of what we know as Superman?
What we know as Superman, Kal-El. And it was spelled Kal-L in the original. He was from the planet Krypton, as Marlon Brando would say, but he was from actually the planet Krypton. But Marlon Brando, with that, he had that Mid-Atlantic accent going for him. Krypton. So yeah, he was
That's
Marlon
gonna annoy
Brando.
the fuck out of me the next time I watch
Krypton.
Superman.
Oh, you're going to be like, why the fuck is he saying? Why is he saying it like that? Because that annoys the shit out of me. So yes. So
why'd you pick just
because this is? I mean, he's the top of the mountain. Superman is. He started it all.
To be fair, like when I picture a superhero, the first image that like comes to my mind has always been Superman.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he is the archetype that a lot of other characters then kind of fall under or are inspired by. Or
Of course. Well, think about it. It's even in the name, superhero.
Yeah.
So superhero, Superman. So yeah, he's that guy. He's the one we all think about when we think about superheroes.
What was your first exposure to Superman when you were younger?
First. Oh my God. Well, you have to realize that I have 5 older brothers, so I can't even remember my first exposure to Superman. So I'm trying to remember. Might have been The Adventures of Superman. Might have been George Reeve.
Not Reeves.
Not Reeves. That's Christopher Reeve.
Reeve.
No, George Reeve's Christopher Reeve. No, it's Christopher Reeve. Is it Christopher Reeve?
Backwards?
Which one do I?
Christopher Reeves.
It's Christopher Reeve.
Is Adventures of Superman what we watched the other day?
The black and white.
No, that was
the cartoon.
That was the
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve, and it's George Reeves.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's plural. I'm sorry, there's only one George Reeves, and I think he was. But no, that was the Superman from Seagar, not Seagar. It was a cartoon. It was the they also put out.
Oh, and is it
Popeye.
new?
No, it's old. Way old. I'm blanking
Fleischer.
on Fleischer. That's it. Max Fleischer.
Right.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Talk about it. I'm like, here's our deep dive. And you're like, hey, what were we watching the other day? I'm like, you're the fucking one who doesn't have Alzheimer's, for God's sakes. You remember it. So, yes, we were watching the Fleischer, and those were amazing. I didn't find them until like I was 10 or 12. I saw all the Popeyes back in the day, which is weird, when you think about it. It's like, by the Sailor, and he was also.
You gotta remember, Popeye was also like one of the biggest cartoons.
For
the longest time. Not so much now. Back in the day, Popeye was huge.
It was a newspaper strip, man.
But before Superman is a little strange.
Yeah. Well, before Superman, Superman was created by Jerry Jerome Siegel and Joe Joseph Schuster, Siegel and Schuster, and they were both. They met in. I think it was. I'm going to pull up some notes because I did make notes because, like I said, Alzheimer's. Where are you? Here we go. They met at Glenville, the Glenville High in Cleveland, Ohio. So they were the sons of Jewish immigrants. They were like 14 when they met, and they both bonded over their love of science fiction. So Jerry Siegel wanted to be a writer, and Joe Shuster was a budding artist. So Jerry Siegel had his own fanzine.
That's cool.
And it was called, what the hell is the name of it? It was called Science Fiction, the Advance Guard of Future Civilization. Now, that's a mouthful right there, and I'm glad I wrote that down. That's a great name, but I mean,
that's fucking awesome.
It is. It's pretty badass. But he would write short stories, and Joe Shuster would give him illustrations to put in the magazine. Pretty badass.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you're talking about like back in the day when you had to like mimeograph stuff. Like, I mean, it was nuts. There was no Xeroxing.
Well, how much science fiction was there? How many? Was it just magazines?
Oh yeah, there was
lots
of magazines. Yeah. Actually, you want to go do me a favor, go in the back, grab a stack of those magazines over on the thing that we haven't processed yet. Sure. Yeah, we're gonna show you some magazines that we had.
Especially in the early,
like Astonishing Tales.
In the early part of that century, like it was. Yeah, it was probably one of the more popular forms of fiction.
Well, I'll go further back in the 1800s. That's where most people got all of their their
Fiction.
entertainment. And Penny Dreadfuls. That's where that comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where that term comes from, because you would get these things. Charles Dickens had all of his stuff done in these serialized forms. So you would get all these. They would print them out like little Tijuana Bibles, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, yeah!"
Things, right?
But then they would put them together. Like some of the first, Varney the Vampire was one of those things that came out. Yeah, that was a legit
Varney's a vampire.
Oh, that Nam just gave you, a thing.
Sorry,
right in the back, Jack. You finding them? What? I can't find it. It's on that thing we just built. Going down. Pretend you're going down to the cellar and put your right hand out. There you are.
And then shake it all about.
Yeah.
And then do the hokey pokey.
That's what it's all about, folks. Yeah, those are them.
Cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, we have a couple of these. We have like railroad stories. There's some stuff.
So these are kind of like
thrilling adventures.
So like these are where pulp stories kind of.
Yeah, these were exactly. Yeah. So
this is so cool.
It is. So the very first appearance of Superman was it was in a story called The Reign of Superman by Jerry Siegel. And it was about a homeless guy named Bill Dunn who was tricked by an evil scientist, because what scientist isn't evil? He was an evil scientist, gave him these drugs, an experimental drug that gave him incredible mental powers, telepathy, clairvoyance, mind control. And he used that power for personal and selfish gain. So he was turned into a pile of crap, and eventually it wore off.
Okay.
So and it was sort of like Flowers for Algernon almost.
Whoa.
Right.
Okay.
So and say 1930, that was in 35, 34, 35, or 33. 1932. No. It was in I get dates wrong. 33.
33?
33, 34. So they decide that they want to become, Siegel and Schuster they want to create a syndicated or syndicatable comic strip, which was all the rage. That's what all the kids were doing back in the day. But they were told they got rejected. Rejection. They were doing comedy and adventure strips. And
this is going to sound like a dumb question though.
Sure.
Like, why do you think that they were rejected? Especially in an age where comic books were popping off and like becoming extremely popular.
They were not. Comic books
Still.
had not become popular until around 36 or 37.
So they were popular, but they weren't like
Their comic strips still ruled the roost.
okay.
Comic strips, like the funny pages that you saw every Sunday, that's what people, because they were in color, and people were like, oh my god, people waited.
Silver
all
Knight,
week.
he's on a roll. We'll answer questions in a little bit, okay? Like, I want to hear the stories. We'll answer them because I do have questions. He did mention Dr. Occult, and I know that there's an aspect about that, but we'll get there.
Yeah, calm your jets, Kyle. Make up some landfill puns, for God's sakes. So, essentially, what comic books were back in the day. That's almost as good as the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Yeah, that was a good one.
There you go. Comic strips ruled the roost. Comic books were merely packaging for comic strips, because that's what they did. They took existing comic strips, put them into like serialized book form, and it's like, there you go, all in color for 8 cents.
This is gonna sound really stupid.
Yeah.
Kind of like an omnibus, kind of like what we consider an omnibus.
Sort of,
kind
yeah. In a way, yeah.
So did comic books really start popping off when World War II started?
No, a little bit before. So comic books didn't really get popular. I mean, there was a comic called More Fun Comics that as Kyle states, Dr. Occult, which was created by Siegel and Schuster also. And he was an occult private eye.
Oh, that's cool.
He was, and he had an assistant named Rose who he was in love with. And I don't know if this is part of original canon, because I didn't read any of those original Dr. Occult stories, but he and his assistant Rose shared a soul.
Whoa!
So they were in love, but they never could see each other. It was almost like a Lady Hawk situation.
Is he a character that's under DC, or is he?
Yeah, he's DC.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
read some Dr. Occult. Sounds fucking cool.
Actually, Dr. Occult was in the Books of Magic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he helped guide Tim Hunter.
I feel like him and Constantine wouldn't get along.
No, he and Constantine did get along. It was Mr. E and Constantine who didn't get along.
Okay.
And don't even get me started on the Spectre and Swamp Thing when it comes to them.
That's so cool. Okay.
So, but they were trying, and they revisited the concept of Superman, and they're like, all right, let's do this. So they're throwing it out there. They're getting rejections left and right. And Siegel thinks, oh my God, they're rejecting us because we're two unknowns and we're really young. We're like 17.
Yeah,
so he kind of jettisons Joe Shuster for this Superman thing. And he's like, look, Joe, we'll work on something else. And Schuster's like, you're a dick. So, because you get the shaft and that's what happens. So he gets in touch with a couple of like established artists. Oh, okay. One was named Leo O'Melia, who drew Fu Manchu, and they came up with the idea that Superman, he was maybe from the future. And they fleshed out his story a little bit more, and they gave him hair, which I thought was good. And they wanted to make him a good guy.
Right. He looked like Luthor in the beginning,
and we're going to get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
So, because Luthor didn't look like Luthor. In the original telling, Lex Luthor had red hair.
Yes.
He was a redhead. The Ultra-Humanite was another like super scientific bad guy.
See, this is what I always love about the origins of certain characters and just books in general or stories, is that early on sometimes like they're not necessarily hitting it on the head just yet, but the types are still there.
Yeah.
Like it's the building blocks. You may not have Lex Luthor as he appears yet, but his design is literally right in front of you.
Yeah. And it was in the form of the Ultra-Humanite. Now, the Ultra-Humanite would go on very cool. He'd get like a second act in like the 80s. Very cool.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Silver Knight Cos leaning into the landfill thing. He's like, landfill versus Dr. Occult. Rise of the Cleveland versus Jersey Stench. I'm sorry. I just love
Jersey Stench.
I love that he was like, you know what? Maybe I will go back to my business.
Get on your business. So now where was I? Oh yeah, there was Russell Keaton who was drawing Buck Rogers and Sky Roads.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So they had thought, and this is going to piss my lovely wife off, but it was going to be a time travel tale where
I didn't hear him say it.
So it's Leo O'Melia had the idea that a guy was in the future at Earth's end, and he's like, oh my God, the planet's going to explode, creates a time machine to go back in time. And he, comes to Earth and he's like, well, yeah. And we had evolved to the point where we had, had huge muscles. So, but, Russell Keaton came up with the idea that a guy sends his child back.
See, that's what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
It's
the
there.
Pieces.
But it's almost
so
like
cool.
It's like Michelangelo like cutting the marble away.
Yeah, it's like you're very, very close, but you got to trim the fat a little bit.
Exactly. So they're trimming all this fat off, and again, these guys both take it to their publishers. Publishers like, this is shit. And so they're like, fuck you. Fuck you, Jerry Siegel.
On Superman.
Oh, most of these people.
I know most of them did, but that's just such a foreign concept.
I get you, but they're like, you know what, this is. So that was their reasoning. So these guys helped Jerry Siegel get a little bit closer. So he's tearing his hair out by this point. He's like, this sucks. So he and Schuster get together again, and then they come up with the planet Krypton. They send the baby away. So he comes here.
They kind of formulated those details.
Yeah, they took what they had progressed to and then sharpened it up. Instead of a guy, from Earth being super strong, it makes sense that an alien who looks like a guy from Earth is super strong, and he's always the outsider.
I do love the acknowledgement of two other names that I did not know were associated with the story, because I always thought it was just Jerry and Joe.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that they also had contributions towards it.
But
it's still it does help.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I appreciate this angle, because it's like having the friend who's almost hitting the bullseye.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a great idea, but I'm going to build off of it.
It's like getting George Harrison in there, and then Pete Best is still your drummer, but you're like, we'll get rid of him soon. Well, he's almost done.
Great analogy.
Yeah. So that
was actually perfect.
So they're like getting it just right. So, and this is Superman's a child that has many fathers and mothers. Mostly fathers. Lots and lots of fathers. It's like Freddy Krueger, the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs. No, it's not even quite like that. But they were taking inspiration from Philip Wiley's Gladiator. Hugely successful book back in the 1920s, 1930s. Where Philip Wiley, it's Hugo Danner was the son of this guy who was, again, and not an evil scientist, but a scientist who, his wife got pregnant, so he injects her with super serum XVJ, and the kid turns out to be Superman, a Superman. So, and it's really weird because they would, after Crisis on Infinite Earths, they would go back to that well.
To that idea.
That they went to that. Hugo Danner would be the father of Arne Monroe, who was part of the Young Allies.
See,
Young Allies? No, I'm sorry. Young All-Stars, not Young Allies. Sorry, folks. Sorry,
cool.
Kyle.
But that's so cool because
continuity.
I don't also want to say that there's no such thing as a bad idea, because that's not necessarily true. It's the idea that even rough ideas can live on in some way, shape, or form. Because even that angle of Superman, for them to be let's revisit that, no one's touched that in a while, is so cool. I gotta tell you, people, I've been having a shit day, and I'm having so much fun with this.
This is actually pretty cool. And then they went and they had done some work for a guy named hold on, I'm gonna get his name again. Hi, everybody.
This is why we have notes. It's okay.
Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson. I think his name was Major Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson. He was he owned
Eminem.
Yeah, let's do that. So Malcolm hired these guys. Had problems paying them. He was in financial straits, but he's one of the original architects of national periodicals.
Okay.
So there was national periodicals and then All American Comics. I think I was telling you this, where they brought together all of the heroes in the JSA.
Right.
And they would that was the very first crossover, because Sandman was
or at least of superheroes. Right?
Of super, yes.
Okay.
That was the first super team, was the Justice Society of America, which is All-Star Comics number 3. It was the Spectre, Dr. Fate, Green Lantern, The Flash, Johnny Thunder and his Thunderbolt.
This was their
Sandman.
This was huge.
This was amazing. Nobody had ever done this before.
Yeah.
And the Atom. So these are all characters that have their own stories outside of All-Star Comics.
Okay.
And then we had because Sandman was from Adventure Comics and More Fun Comics. That was where the Spectre first got his start. Dr. Fate, Aquaman, and Dr. Occult.
Okay, so just because now I'm starting to get just a little bit confused.
Yes.
So like, are these are where the origins of those characters are coming from, and Superman is having his origin at the same, well, not at the same time.
No, he started everything.
Yeah, he starts everything.
He is the first superhero.
So when you're talking, the only thing that's confusing me is these company names. So like
God. Let's put it this way. Back then, like Timely was a legitimate company.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Goodman, I believe, was the owner. And Stanley was his nephew. And at 18, he was like made an editor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you had like Major Wheeler
Nicholson.
That's the dude. He went in with the guys from All American Comics, and they became like DC.
Okay.
So Detective Comics was right there. So it was Superman, then it was Batman. We had the Crimson Avenger was technically first, but he had no superpowers. So
he's also not Superman.
And he's not Superman. Right. So Crimson Avenger, Dr. Occult, these are Slam Bradley.
So like their initial approach was to cater more towards like the pulp story crowd.
Yeah.
But then Superman became, I guess, the more
flamboyant. He was huge.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, we've never seen anything like this. And Siegel and Schuster are like, you morons, we've been showing you this for the past 5 years. And you've been saying no. But and you know, I hear a lot of people are like, oh, they got taken advantage of. And yes and no. Let's do just like a glossing over this. Siegel and Schuster, in the 10 years that they worked for DC Comics, they were paid together the equivalent of about, what I say, $4 million, $4 to $5 million in like today money.
That's for each of them or all
no,
together?
that's
all
together.
Because they were writing partnerships.
Yeah, they were.
Right.
Yeah,
you split that accordingly.
Right.
And right then, in 1947, 10 years, 47, they decided to sue for ownership of Superman and Superboy, and it didn't go. Actually, they settled out of court for about $1.5 million in today money, which is like $45,000 or $70,000, whatever it added up to. But I mean, and you're talking about, so you're looking at like almost $10 million in today money that they had back then.
Which it's a lot of dough in retrospect.
When you think about it. So if they had an equal partnership, or even if Siegel got $6 and Schuster got $4 million, you know,
I mean, you can see the angle in which you can be perceived that they're being taken advantage of because then you have to consider, well, then how much were the companies making with these characters? But then at the same time, it doesn't sound like these guys were roughing it. And then at the same, to also add to that, it's like they, trying to word it correctly because I also want to be very respectful because I get it. Like people, like there's a lore associated with this. So it's always been perceived as like big guy versus little guy when I think that, as always, it's a lot more nuanced than that. Like it's just like, this was business decisions in the 40s and 30s where $1,000 could change somebody's life.
Oh yeah.
Where now that's a bill.
And you've also got to realize that back then, and if you read The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, you find out like they were creating this entire universe like on the fly. Like the houses would pop up. Like Will Eisner had his own artistic house where he, like it was Will Eisner and Associates, and it might just be him and a guy with crayons. So
you make it sound pro, but you don't actually show them the
exactly.
shop.
And they said that they'd go to one guy's apartment and they'd be sitting there like ripping wallpaper off to draw on.
No, there's sometimes I see parallels in how people like get their origin stories sometimes.
Yes, there we go. Iger Studios. That's right, Iger. I forgot
really
about that.
Funny about that, because I just downloaded the book on his life. Freaking the founder of Filmation did a similar thing.
Lou Scheimer?
Yeah. Have you ever heard this story where he to get the contract for Superman, they needed to fake a busy animation studio, so they hired their friends and family to pretend that they were at their desks doing shows. And the DC head at the time was like, "Looks good to me. Here you go," and was like, "Here's the license to do Superman."
But and it was also on Ted Knight's back that they did that too. Just his voice. I think I told you he was the one who was voicing all of the major superheroes.
No, I love that kind of stuff because it's just like, you know what, we'll make it work. And
oh hell yeah!
And then looking at what it's created legacy wise now is just, it's wonderful. It's so cool.
Now, like you said, Batman came out a year right after Superman.
Yeah.
Did Bob Kane get any, like, how was Bob Kane treated compared to like Schuster?
All right, here's the thing. Bob Kane, and this is the thing. Bob Kane didn't really, the Batman that we know was it was Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson. They came up with that stuff. Bob Kane had an acrobat in a red suit with bat wings, and he had a domino mask.
Right.
And he was blonde. And that was him. That's like, this is Batman. And they're like, nah, it's not Batman. Doesn't look red, not the best look for Batman.
This is gonna
calm your jets,
piss off some people, but it sounds like Bob Kane was more just like, it's fine. Whereas Bill and what's the other guy's name?
It was Jerry Robinson.
Jerry Robinson were more kind of like, well, let's actually like make it good.
He was Bob Kane was, it's not only good, it's good enough. Yeah. So yeah, you're like, the reason why Bob Kane got the recognition that he did is because his father was a lawyer. Most of these guys,
his father was a suit.
Yeah, his father was very much a fucking suit.
Fucking suit.
Yeah. And that's why you see created by Bob Kane everywhere. Every fucking where.
It's obnoxious.
And I'm not even going to tell you that when we do Batman, I'm going to tell you the Jim Steranko story. So yeah, that's going to be fun. So all right, I'm sorry. This is why it's a deep dive, because it's all over the place.
But you did ask an interesting question, was like artist and writer treatment. So like
they were not treated like gold, but they weren't treated horribly. I mean, there were a lot of guys who made a very decent living.
It was a job.
It was, yes. And we used to say that, the comic books I grew up on were created by guys who wore suits and hats. That's how they went to work. Like
before the suits were suits.
Yeah, seriously, when everyone was a suit.
Prehistoric suits.
Made out of tiger skin. Yeah, it was awesome. So,
well, Mom, home.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, there's my favorite sitcom.
So, not a bad one.
Anyway, yes.
So, like I said, not being an apologist for the evil empire that DC Comics was, but
But there's business.
Yeah, there's business deals. DC took the lion's share of the risk.
They took the lion's share of the risk and took a significant portion of the reward.
Of course, yeah.
That we're not denying.
No.
It's just like...
But they were compensated fairly, yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is like they're still... there's still hints there. Like, you got to remember, like, some of these companies are kind of run like record labels. No one's perfect.
No.
Like, there's royalties missing everywhere.
Sure.
But, like, is there a fight to be made for it? Sure. But probably at the time, they were just happy to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah. They were living their dreams. They were living the freaking dream. They not only were they comic strip creators, they were arguably the creators of comic books.
Yeah.
And, you know, the boom that came after that. And everybody mimics Superman. Captain Marvel, Namor.
Literally.
Yes. They're speaking of the Eisner-Iger Studios. They created a character called Wonder Man. They only put out one issue of it, and national periodicals fell on, and this came from Fox Publishing, landed on them with both feet, and, you know, like snapped their necks because there was a TRO put out on them. They're like, fuck it. So they folded their tents, and like during depositions, they got Will Eisner, and like, to your knowledge, to your recollection, Mr. Eisner, did they ask you to create a superhero that was in any way akin to Superman? He's like, they told me to like completely carbon copy Superman. So like, all right, we're folding up shop. See you later. And then they would literally closed the door, like bolted it shut, and opened up next door.
We're an entirely different company.
Exactly, yeah. Now we're Frocks. And it's like, holy
But weren't
crap.
you just Fricks? Yeah, now we're Frocks.
No, it was Fox. Yeah, Fox Publishing. So, and it was like, and Blue Beetle was another one. And all these guys.
And we had Beetle Blue, but like Blue Beetle.
No. I mean, he was a ripoff of Superman.
Mike, like, I think you're kind of getting to the point of hope that everybody is
anybody. When you think about it, that's very true. And they were litigious about it. That's why Captain America was just peak human form instead of being like, he can bench press a truck, because he couldn't. And
like the super serum and all that type of
super
stuff.
soldier
like,
serum.
Let's differentiate this a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. And they used the word super in there anyway. So, but Namor, anybody who could fly or had bullets bounced off them.
Michael, Christian, how about you guys tear off a piece of the stash wallpaper behind you and launch some landfill?
Why don't we just grab a garbage can filled with coffee grounds and orange peels and do that?
It'd be the same effect.
Yeah, pretty much.
If not better marketing.
And that'd be nice. And because we can make musical instruments out of that too.
It'd be so
awesome. We got an old radiator upstairs that I can use as an accordion.
The idea, and we're just going to go off of it from there.
Yeah.
So where are we at in the story? So
all right,
now
so,
we've established.
All right. And then Superman comes out, raging, huge success. Everybody's aping him. They bring out Batman. Batman jumps on the bandwagon. They're not chartered. They're honorary members of the Justice Society of America. Batman and Superman get their own radio shows. And this is insane. So Superman's, one of his major weaknesses is kryptonite. And that was created not in comic books, but on the radio.
Radio show?
Wow.
Yeah, radio show, because Bud Collyer was the voice of Superman. And he's like, I'm going on vacation. Like, wait a minute, you can't go on vacation. Superman doesn't take vacations. Superman's here for the kids. For the kids.
Clark Kent takes vacation.
And he's like, no, Bud Collyer takes fucking vacations. And he's going for 2 weeks to Sarasota Springs. And I'm like, what the fuck? So like, nah. And so they had him exposed to kryptonite, and they benched him for 2 weeks.
Oh my God. So then you create this ultimate fucking cliffhanger thing.
Right?
Holy shit. And just born out of, hey, our voice actor's going on vacation. What the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. So wait, so for shows to do that back in the day, you would have to license it from DC to be like, hey, we want to do this thing. So when they created that and they kind of implemented into the comics, like, how does that then work? Like,
it's reciprocal.
Okay.
So yeah, they're like, hey, Jimmy, while you're writing that Superman up, guess what? They're bringing in this thing called kryptonite. So you're going to use it in our comic strips.
Can you imagine that, like that moment, that conversation where it's like, yeah, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck are we going to do? Yeah. Kryptonite. What did you just say?
Yeah. Seriously, I will end your fucking family. You curse at me again, motherfucker. So yeah, kryptonite.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Oh man, I had another
so
point.
I'm sorry. So then they did the Superman movie serials, and that was Kirk Allen, I think.
Who made them?
No, who starred as Superman because they needed a guy. And the cereal, yeah,
okay,
not Superman's. And there was everything. There was like the Superman Squad, where you get like a little tin badge. World War II comes around. This is hugely popular. Comic books are things that GIs can fold up and stick in their back pockets. And comic books were at PXs everywhere, all over the world.
Atom Man versus Superman.
Yes.
That's so cool.
I'm sorry, who starred in it?
Kirk Allen,
I was right.
Kirk Allen.
Bud Collyer was the voice, and yeah, there you go.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah. And Noel Neal. They should have used a different picture. I'm just saying. So
Mike's got thoughts.
I got so World War II comes around, World War II ends. Superman tried to join the army, but he was so excited he used during the vision test. He used his X-ray visions and read the.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they called him 4F, and they couldn't have him. Yeah, he was 4F.
Wow, oh my God!
So he couldn't go over to Germany, and they retconned that because I mean,
like, you're too powerful.
Yeah, if there's Superman, what chance does Hitler have? Really? So they're like, yeah, Hitler's got kryptonite.
But isn't that also like a famous old photo or drawing?
No, that was Superman? That was Captain America punching Hitler.
It's so funny because like I could just fit Superman right into that, and it just makes sense.
Of course you could.
Like, oh man.
So yeah, Superman comes back, and unfortunately, comic books after World War II hit a slump. So there's a huge slump in sales. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman are the only ones who really ride out the wave. Flash, Green Lantern, everybody gets sort of canceled. Even in 1954, Captain America stops publishing his adventures.
Damn.
So, yeah. So
it's not a good time to be a comic book creator.
Yeah. So,
but it's the perfect time to sue the
back
hand that feeds you.
There
right?
you go. Exactly. So, they did that, and essentially, Superman is owned lock, stock, and barrel by DC Comics. So they go and they do goofy ass stuff, like Superman flying to outer space and doing stuff out there because now his powers. Every successive comic book writer increases his powers. So whereas he could change the course of mighty rivers, now he can spin the earth on his finger like Meadowlark.
That annoys the shit out of me for some reason.
And it should.
The image of him spinning the globe like a fucking basketball. No.
Or moving. They had him move the earth out of the way of a comet that came in, and then moved it back because that wouldn't fuck with ecology or anything.
That's really funny that we're clowning this a little bit because I love the Superman movies. I do. But it was Superman 2 that he rewound time by
first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
The end of it? That's the only part of it where I'm like, what? That was the only part where even as a kid, I was just like,
you thought he rewound the earth?
Yeah.
No.
I thought
no, what he did was he flew back in time.
Flew backwards, but then they rewound the footage that made it look like that. That's why I was confused as a kid. I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? As a kid, this is what I was thinking. But it was just there's certain things with Superman where it's like if you overpower him, there's no point.
No, there's
you can't also then underpower him because you've set a standard. It's like, but anytime you do underpower him, you then have to make it part of the storytelling. Meaning, like, the kryptonite poisoning. Like,
there you go.
Like, I love that on the fly thinking, but I also you have to acknowledge like it's fine kind of attitude about it. Like,
that's that whole hands off stuff. Like, let him do what he wants.
Yeah.
But in the 50s, I mean, it was all goofy and dorky. They did the same thing with Batman. Batman would fly to different planets because they heard of his reputation on Earth. Now, let me fucking why aren't I getting picked up?
We're also talking about Batman. We're not necessarily in the Dark Knight era.
No, we're at fucking goofy. We're at like rainbow suit Batman era. So
we wonder why Batman 66 is the way it is.
Of course, yeah. No, there is a reason. So, Batman in a loincloth. He's out in he's the jungle Batman. You're like, and the Batman of many countries. And you're like, holy fuck, this was really a thing, huh? But we also had Batwoman.
That's how far James Gunn is going back.
The original Batman, the original Batgirl, who was Betty Kane or Bet Kane. Yeah, she was, and her costume was red and green, like Robin's colors. Even though Robin was red and yellow and green. Okay. No. But she had a crush on Robin, and Batwoman had a crush on Batman. So everything worked out in the wash.
His mafioso cousin, Kryptoni.
Yeah, there you go. So let's talk about some of the artists who had an imprint on Superman. There was Joe Shuster, but after him, Al Plastino. Mm-hmm. I got to meet him. Nice guy. Kurt Swan. It breaks my heart. I never got to meet him. He was my Superman growing up from 1958 to 19.
Didn't we have a?
Yes, we do. Oh, we've got a couple things here. Here you go. This is Kurt Swan's Superman, and he was
Supergirl's introduction to the world.
Yep, she was not her introduction to the comic book. Yeah, but the world when Superman used her or kept her in reserve as a secret weapon. But then he's like, time to break you out into the world. And that was creepy. They had some really weird stories where they're like, Supergirl, you're the kind of woman that I would look for if it weren't illegal for Kryptonians to marry their cousins. He actually freaking said that.
Oh God.
I mean, Clark was from Kansas.
Yeah,
Where would he keep Supergirl at?
She was in a
we have dirty minds. Jesus Christ.
She was in an orphanage in the Midvale Orphanage in Midvale, wherever the fuck that is. And here's another iconic Superman image. This is the great Neil Adams, who made chains explode. So Neil Adams was pretty cool.
Is there a Kentucky equivalent on Krypton?
Yes, it was called Kryptonucky.
Yeah, it's called Krypton.
Kryptonucky.
Kryptonucky.
Kryptonucky. So yeah, that was weird. Yeah. What y'all doing over here? You imagine hillbilly? Oh man, super hillbillies. That would be fucking great.
Nah, the planet ain't gonna blow up.
No,
it's gonna be fine.
No, we're gonna be okay there, cousin Cletus, cousin Kryptonitus. And then back after we did Crisis on Infinite Earths, so our man for the longest time was Kurt Swan, ably abetted by Kurt Schaffenberg, was also one of the key Superman artists back in the 70s. So they flipped action and Superman. So you had two Superman titles in a month. And then we had Superman Family, which was just a bunch of people throwing shit up against the wall.
Okay, so you had like your main two.
Yeah, Superman and action. Then you had Superman Family, which back in the 60s, we had Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
So that was
a comic book.
Was that like the Proving Ground comic line kind of thing, where it was like
No, because that went on for like 100 issues.
Oh, God.
Proving line. No, it's just goofy ass shit.
He had
And
Superman's girlfriend,
Lois Lane, where she would like get into hair pulling contests with, Catwoman and Lana Lang.
Neil Adams championed.
Yes, he did
in the 70s to help him get retirement.
Yes, he did.
Medical
And
prep in
I was
DC.
getting to that, Kyle. That happened. He was a staunch believer in artists' rights, and he got them not just medical benefits, but he got them a pension after Superman the movie came out.
See, like that's the only part of the story where it gets like weird to me, because then it's like, if in theory they were treated right, why was it then like what? Like, I get it. You don't know what these guys were truly like. Like, I don't know how they spent their money.
Yeah,
and like it was a job. So the job ended,
and a fairly well-paying job, and the job ended, and they were like trying to make ends meet. And I get that, and
that I understand.
But they also created this thing. They created a machine which became like a self-perpetuating machine that made DC Comics millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, think about it now. What do we got on the horizon? A Superman movie, a brand spanking new one that will probably make $1 billion at the box office. How much did Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, make? Do we know?
I think like I wouldn't
like
say,
worldwide.
I would say maybe like $500 million.
Okay,
it did really well.
It didn't make $1 billion.
No.
I
think later it did.
Okay,
like either volume 3 or
okay, all right. So volume 1 or volume 2, or volume 3 made $1 billion. So let's say they do another 2, and they're equally good. This is gonna put DC on the map again. This is gonna reestablish them as,
especially with
having clout.
Yeah, especially with where Marvel is at. And I'm not disrespecting Marvel, but like it's literally just like, hey, everybody experiences peaks and valleys, highs and lows. Right now, Marvel's not doing so hot. I'm excited for Superman.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
I'm actually excited for Captain America. They're introducing adamantium, which I'm very excited for. So
I'm very hyped.
So after Crisis on Infinite Earths, they rebooted with John Byrne coming. John Byrne, who was the superstar of superstars over at Marvel Comics. He turned the X-Men into like the franchise it became. He's one of the reasons why, because he co-plotted with Chris Claremont. And then he went and did his own successful run of the Fantastic Four. Arguably the second best run since Kirby and Stan Lee.
He's how my uncle learned how to draw, from his art book.
Love that art book. That art book's amazing. He also talked about how he wanted to do a what if comic where what if Magneto had formed the X-Men, which is really cool. Yeah. And then he came and again got into a tussle with DC and abruptly left the book. And Superman, he didn't do poorly, but he wasn't the juggernaut that he once was. And I mean, he's been a mainstay of comic books.
Did this eventually lead to what I think you're leading towards, which is the death of Superman?
The death of Superman was one of the biggest, the most highly selling comics ever put out. They did multiple printings. Demand couldn't keep up with the success. So Dan Jurgens, Brett Breeding, everyone involved in that. Mike Carlin, John Bogdanove, however you say your name. And I know you watch John Bogdanove. Bang. And everybody who was involved in the death of Superman storyline. They brought in Doomsday. They gave Doomsday this. They later gave him this convoluted backstory, which I think I still, have a brain hemorrhage from. But
well, just because I want to glance just at it for just 1 second. Don't go into the convoluted one, but what is the character of Doomsday again?
Originally Doomsday was a creature who just fell to Earth.
Okay.
And he beat the Justice League with one arm still tied behind his back. Yeah. Literally he had one arm tied behind his back.
I don't know why that image is just so funny. Be like, look at what I can do.
Yeah. But he had like these bony protrusions.
Yeah, Doomsday's disgusting looking. Like he's not it's not pretty.
No.
But like I guess I'm sorry because I just finished Superman and Lois, and I love what they did with Doomsday and how he's actually related. Well, in this continuity to Bizarro, I was like, I really dig that. Is that something that's original to that show, or is that something that happened in the comic line?
No, that was original to the show. I think Dan Jurgens had him retconned where he was Kryptonian. He was a Kryptonian clone.
Okay.
And he fell to Earth because we're like Krypton's landfill. We are literally Earth is Krypton's landfill. Make of that what you will, Silver Knight. Yeah. So, and that we went through some highs and some lows of Superman. Superman is about to hit another peak. We have Absolute Superman, which is doing incredibly well. Along with the Absolute Batman line.
In the past, you've had All-Star Superman. That's also one of the better ones.
Yes, that's a Grant Morrison run. We've had all-star creators who have, taken the reins of Superman.
But I think that's also what I like about where comic books have kind of evolved into, where it's not just like, oh, here are these stories that are set in stone per se. You can have your own line, your own version of the character that you can then explore. Because there are different Superman books. There's different Superman lines.
Sure.
Because anybody can come in. Well, not anybody. Like, you still have the talent and the recognition. But, like, you can come in and put your own spin on Superman and what he means to you. Like, what's your version? How do you see him? And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Do you see Superman or do you see Superman?
Or do you see Clark Kent?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I think that one of the things that we forgot to mention was that, again, they had so many different inspirations for Superman. They had some inspirations for Clark Kent as well, like Harold Lloyd.
This blew my mind because, no fucking way.
So Superman was based on, like, Douglas Fairbanks and the swashbucklers at the time. And a lot of... the term Superman was back in the 20s. I'm sorry, the 1920s, not the 2020s. 1920s. It was like, hey, look at that. That's boy Superman. Look at him. And it meant that you were outstanding in your field. Oh, look at him. He's a regular Superman. I don't know why that. In the 1940s.
You love that voice.
Those people with their megaphones, I'm telling you.
That's your next Banjo and Buckshot character.
The megaphone Mike. Megaphone Mike. That's right, everybody here. So, but Harold Lloyd was the inspiration for Clark Kent. So he was bumbling, he was stumbling, but
the freaking that angle of it is so obvious.
But if you ever look at a Harold Lloyd film, he was, he'd be walking and he'd flip and he'd trip, he'd do a double somersault, and then he'd be standing up again. And I think they used that to great effect in All-Star Superman, where, Clark could be walking down the street and, somebody, he'd trip and fall and knock over a garbage can, which took out a purse snatcher. And he'd get up again. And you're like, holy crap, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Falls into a garbage can, takes out a robber. Whoops, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I love the oh man, I really do enjoy the idea that, like, there is a version, if Superman had somehow been created earlier, you could have had, like, a silent film Superman that was quite
Dun-dun-dun,
comical.
dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Yeah. The idea of Harold Lloyd as an like, I find that so cool because I love those old kind of movies. But it also makes sense because what's the easiest way to hide that you're Superman is you're the clumsiest person that people know.
Oh yeah.
Like,
But your clumsiness has like this hidden agenda.
yeah. And it like, there's a,
Well, hold on. Did you ever see the Jar Jar Binks where they have that cut where it's
Yeah.
like Jar Jar Binks is actually a Sith Lord?
yeah, and he's using a particular fighting style.
Right.
What's the
Drunken monkey.
yeah, but it's Superman's version of that,
Yeah.
and it's like, what?
Yeah, the drunken master. That's exactly it. So yeah, he's using. How awesome would that be?
That's so fucking cool.
But it's weird that they had drunks on Krypton.
Oh man, in Kryptucky,
Hey, I just made some of that.
that Krypton shine,
that Krypton. Yeah, Krypton shine. Actually, hold on. What the fuck was the name of their? Actually,
There
they
is
had
a Kryptonian
yeah.
drink, right?
Yeah, they have plenty. I'm sure they had to.
Someone complimenting you. They
Oh,
they
thank
your
you.
voice at the
Oh,
reader.
you were there.
Yeah,
Was I okay?
you were.
Oh, thank you.
That was really fun.
That was a lot of fun that night.
I've always thought that Kevin's Superman script would make a fantastic DC Elseworlds like animated movie. Like, just hey, we want to make this movie. Let's just do it as a cartoon. His script that he wrote, I always thought that'd be so.
That would be pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be fucking
And
awesome.
Silver Knight Kyle, I don't believe that Nietzsche was one of the inspirations for Siegel and Schuster because they were not big into Germans at the time. Just to let you know. And yes, it was very big in Nazi doctrine, but not in Cleveland
Not
Jewish teenage boys.
no. And he's got a question for me. Does Superman make a cameo in Wolf Cone Willie? Yes, he will be in the movie. So tune in on Saturday.
Awesome. So, yeah, that brings us up to now. I'm excited for the Superman movie. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but if anybody has any questions for me,
This was like, I loved wearing the comics college hat this time around, man. Because like Superman, for me growing up, my two favorite superheroes were Spider-Man and Superman. Like I always gravitated to those characters, and there's even a photo somewhere of me in a Superman costume like when I was little. But like that's why I get so passionate about telling Superman stories correctly.
Oh yeah,
because that's also why I wasn't a big fan of the previous couple that we had. But like what that character represents, not just as a comic book character, but also as like as corny as it sounds, as the symbol of what he represents for the time and for creators.
like the ultimate goodness.
Yeah,
like because he's Superman, and you expect Superman to be
for Batman to
good.
be that dark, you need Superman to be that light.
You need him to be that good. You need and they've said it before. You know, people trust Superman. If you can't trust Superman, holy crap, it's like
You made
not
the wrong movie.
exactly, and it's like you can't trust Captain America. And Captain America, you know, it's like him using the like language. It's like,
Come on.
yeah, that's Cap. You're like, yeah, dude, that's Cap. But then he like takes a look at his own ass. He's like, yeah, it's America's ass. It's like, dude, come on. Like, oh, jeez.
I mean, to be fair, in a moment like that, though, he doesn't know we're watching.
That's true. But
He's like,
I gotcha. But by the same token, I mean, you don't see me like checking out my ass. I'm like, it's pretty good.
I admire myself sometimes. I'm like, yeah, maybe I am damn good looking.
You're a fine looking
Yeah,
man.
so
But yeah, but that's beside the point. That's you should be above that. If you're Superman, you're gonna be above that.
You know what? That's fair. It's like you were born with superpowers. You don't get to have a way you perceive yourself. You are Superman.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or you're Captain America. And I get that, what was inside of you becomes better. So now you're narcissistic. Wow. Oh, where'd that come from? Come on, Chris Evans.
Man, Mike, this was a fun deep dive.
Yeah, this was pretty fun.
This is dope. You spoke very passionately about it, but like, where does Superman rank for you?
Oh, he's absolutely number one.
He's your favorite.
Superman is actually
over Nightwing.
Even over Nightwing, because guess what? Where do you think Nightwing?
Said that on record.
Where I did. Yeah. Where do you think Nightwing learned to be that good?
From Superman?
Damn straight.
Wow.
Because he grew up in Superman's shadow. He grew up in Batman's shadow. Right. So he had to learn
the skill of Batman, but the good of Superman.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Right.
Yeah. And he got the name from Superman. Nightwing was a Kandorian hero.
Oh my God.
That's
dope, right?
That's so cool. I had no idea of that, actually. That's awesome. Silver Knight Kyle does have another question. Do y'all consider the greatest American hero a sitcom? Yes.
No.
You don't?
No. They played it straight too.
They played it straight, but it was situational in him like learning the suit, even though he threw out the man. Jack, have you ever heard this show? You ever heard of this show?
Every episode, I'm going to come on. I'm not going to know anything you're talking about.
Listen, it's totally fine. The greatest American hero was an 80s sitcom.
Well, that is an adventure comedy. Look, if Batman's an adventure comedy, Greatest American Hero is an adventure comedy. Yeah. And it was an hour long. So sitcoms are generally speaking half an hour.
Had one of the greatest theme songs ever.
Yes. Dude, you watch Seinfeld?
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message after the beep. That's the song.
Okay.
That's by Mike Post.
Wow.
That was a Mike Post.
So it's honestly, you know what? Go into it blind. Watch the first 2 episodes and then come back and tell us what you think of the greatest American hero.
Sure. Yeah.
It's very of the times.
Oh my God, so much. That's because he was dating way out of his league. Way out of his league. And I love me some William Cat. I think William's Cat was great. But dating way out of his league. Connie Selica.
Seriously, what do you see in that guy? He makes me laugh.
Yeah, there you go. And does Superman have super humor? I have never found any evidence of that. So, all right. So next, deep dive.
Who is next?
Why don't we just
homework? For
you will have homework for the deep dive.
Okay. The greatest American landfill.
There you go. So next deep dive is going to be. Let's do Namor and the Human Torch.
Cool.
Namor and the Human Torch?
Yes, because they go hand in hand.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so, Timely Comics, Namor and the Human Torch.
Sweet.
Submariner, Human Torch.
Let us know in the comments. Who would you guys like to see us also do a deep dive
please
on?
do.
I would. I welcome any subject matter. I bet Mike does as well. And
would love it.
This was so much fun.
Yeah. Also, one other question.
I love this.
We're going to have, we're thinking about doing something very cool, and get in touch with us. Do we still have that email?
Yeah.
Live from the Secret Stash, Christian at gmail.com. I've never been there. I had hoped that you would email me stuff that's relevant, but you're like, I guess not. I guess you've never been there either. There's 4 million unanswered. It's like James Gunn's if you don't answer, I'm going to start watching.
Silver Knight Kyle writes me directly. Okay,
there you go. All right. But we're thinking about doing from Facebook, a Facebook Live where we do auction type stuff. So where we will offer stuff from the stash that you could purchase. So let us know if that's something you guys would be interested in doing. And I'll bring Johnny I'll bring Jack. I'll bring Matt in on this. That'll be fun. And Christian and I will let these lunatics loose and just, hey, can we sell this? Sure, why not?
Toast auction.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, we'll call them toaster auctions. Oh,
That's sick.
we're there. So, but only if you guys are gonna like tune in and buy shit. Because if you're like, fuck you, buy shit from you guys, no way.
But you guys will see the Toasted crew on.
Yeah.
here
Oh my
again.
God, that would be so awesome.
In a while.
Yeah, it's just
We
Johnny's
have
like
their own separate camera and station.
Johnny's like flopping on the floor, like, it's like holy shit.
Another Atlantic City story. And, how
Or
he
speaking in
somehow-
tongues.
How he somehow ended up in Idaho. I don't fucking know. It's just
His own. Johnny ended up in his own private Idaho. So, but folks, thank you so much. And I'm not going to tell you what I told Christian before the show. No, and that secret goes to our graves. So, but it was awesome.
All right, guys. Tune in next week. See you later. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
See ya.
Hey kids, we're live at the secret stash with Mike, Julia, and Christian. It's a hella bash. Tune in and check out the podcast. We got the nerd button on repeat and we're gonna smash. Come on in, I assure you that we're open shoe polish on our signs, cause our locks are always broken.